I think I have enough experience for me to actually talk about it at this point. Path of Exile 2. Okay, so I play a Titan. I played a Titan. I'm pretty much level 80, so I'm already in the end game. I'm kind of like maps 11, 12-ish, somewhere in that area. And so for me, Path of Exile 2 is kind of an interesting one, right? Because I played Path of Exile 1, and I was a big fan of Path of Exile 1. I played a Cyclone Slayer. I had like 3 of them. And I liked the idea of spin to win, because I came from like WoW and stuff like that, and Cyclone and spinning was a very similar kind of build. Like I usually play Cyclone, but of course in Path of Exile 1 was so difficult that you can't really build anything on your own. You actually need help in order to just build something, and then your damage, this is my perspective, your damage is like 5 million off of whoever built it. So it doesn't matter like who you get a build from, they're always going to be like 10 times stronger than you, and it always drove me crazy. But I mean, I was still able to play the game and stuff like that. But what made me quit was actually Cirrus, which was a boss that they had that essentially it took a lot of time to get to that boss, but you only had 6 tries, and the boss just was not very melee friendly. And so you had to have a certain ability in order to get out some of his mechanics, and I just didn't like that because he killed me so many different times. It just took all my time away, and I was just like, I got tired of kind of having to go back because it took so long. It took like 3 or 4 days just to get to him. And then he kills you, and now you had to take another 3 to 4 days to get back to him. So that made me essentially quit Path of Exile, even though I liked the game. Path of Exile 2 comes out, and now I'm playing a Titan, which is basically a big lumbering, kind of slow, do a lot of damage with a big mace. I hated this guy. I mean, mostly because he was weak, because every boss that you kind of went up against was ranged, every last one of them. And so, you know, even if you did run into somebody who happened to be melee, he hit so hard, you didn't want to be in range of him. So it was one of those kind of things where it just wasn't very friendly to melee. But so was Diablo. So it's not like it's the worst thing in the world. And the story, there really isn't a story. You know, it's not as good. Diablo is clearly better, but it doesn't strike me as like a story that I'm really kind of interested in. It's just kind of like you kind of have to labor through it. But on the other side of that, though, once you get through the pain points of leveling that Titan, it became one of the best classes I've ever had, because I came from a place where I lost to the boss 24/7, and now I can smoke a boss in like 20 seconds. So it's a totally different feel than it was in original Path of Exile. Like somebody who's kind of like not an advanced player, but like I would say I'm kind of like a medium level player, can actually get in, play, do their own build, and go from there. Kind of like watch people see what they do, what they want to do, and then learn from that, and then create your own build, and then kind of go from there. The fact that you can do that in Path of Exile 2, whereas in Path of Exile 1 is kind of daunting, says a lot about how far Path of Exile 2 has come. And so for me, playing Titan, a warrior then Titan, has been a very interesting experience, and it didn't really become a pleasurable experience until the end of like Act 3. So it takes forever for him to get online. But once he is online, he'll crush anything. It's just that he's super, super slow. So you're basically bad against anybody faster than you, because you'll get 1 hit and they'll get like 37. So it's kind of an interesting thing. It kind of puts you in a weird situation, but that's my original thought process when it comes to Titan. Alrighty, so now this half of the review is going to be essentially after the patch notes. So a lot of things have happened because of the patch notes and after the patch notes, and I just wanted to give my opinion on this as well. That way I give a full review of the product, you know, before and after the patch notes. See, in fact, I still play the game, so obviously I'm still into it. But let's go ahead and take a look at it, and we can kind of talk about it. I already know it off by heart at this point, but I can kind of go over so that you have an idea. So a lot of the pain points that I had, you know, when I did that first part of this video, where I was kind of giving my review and how I felt about it, my pain points in leveling, like, it was just terrible. Like, until the end of Act 3, leveling a warrior is awful. It's absolutely awful. Everybody just ranges you. And so they made a few things that help with that, particularly when it says added the capacity to fast travel between checkpoints within an area. This is really good, so you can kind of move around, so you don't feel like you have to walk everywhere. So now you can kind of teleport to the other side of the map, as opposed to just kind of walking there with your, you know, 10% speed boots as a Titan, very, very slow and sluggishly. So, you know, that really helped. And then also passive point respecking, making things cheaper, also was really nice, because once you got to higher levels, it became really expensive. And let's see here. I think there was like one more, added shortcuts and the open skills. That's kind of cool. That's a quality of life. But mostly a lot of the things that they made changes for was like things that would kill you, like just straight up one shot you. Like, for example, like anything with chaos damage was just kind of one shot you. So they made changes with that. They also made changes with some of the grievances I had with my previous video, which was the Temple of Sekhet. And for basically making it so that whenever you got closer to a mob, you have a 35% honor resistance or honor reduction, so you don't take as much damage from their hits when you're closer, and that falls off as you move further and further away from them. And that was very useful. So now it's a little bit easier to try to get your third and fourth ascendancies. I haven't done my fourth, but I've done my third, and it was a lot easier than it was previously. So that's really good. So now when I'm kind of going back to it and kind of thinking about everything that's happened now, my stance on Path of Exile 2 is like, it's freaking awesome. Like let's not kid ourselves. I freaking love this game. I've played like 150 hours. I'm like level 85, bro. Like I'm in game. So I definitely enjoy the game. I like the fact that I have my own style of build. I think that I may have taken it from granted like earlier, even though I harped on it, but it becomes more and more apparent the more I kind of do things. Like, for example, I like the fact that I can't get overrun in most situations because I still have the armor explosion to a certain extent, but at the same time, I also have my bunker playstyle. So I can be aggressive, too many, bunker, you know, bring down hammer, sunder, you're dead. You know what I mean? So it's kind of nice to have both play styles. And so what I'm finding out is I really enjoy the fact that I am running a build that no one else runs. It's my own build. I'm not copying it from anybody. I may have learned a little bit about this armor explosion doing this and so on and so forth, but the build is my own. Like nobody's running wall, but maybe people will run it after this once they see like my playstyle and stuff like that. So the fact that I was able to make a build out of nothing when I was running Cyclone and I was just picking other people's builds makes it a lot more enjoyable for me without it taking too much time. Now, I did spend a ton of time playing with things, seeing what worked, seeing what didn't work. And I think what helped it is that all the other skills sucked. So, you know, at the time, they just weren't that good. They were slow and sluggish. When you think of, you know, your leap slam was slow. When I was playing Cyclone, my leap slam was ultra fast. And so, you know, and then when you think about like your rolling slam and like every move he has is super, super slow. So that affects things and how you kind of feel about them, because it's like, okay, well, this feels absolutely awful to play with. Like, this is awful to use. Like, why would I even use this skill? This skill is freaking terrible. Like, even all the magma fireballs he's throwing feels terrible. Like, nothing really felt good except for Sunder and Stampede, kinda. Even Stampede has his own problems because it's kind of slow and lumbering until you get like crazy good AoE. So for me, I like the fact that I have a true build that is my own, which is something I didn't have in Path of Exile 1, which is probably going to make me stay around much longer because I was just playing somebody else's build. Whereas now I have my own, and I have my own that I created myself that I really enjoy. You know what I mean? Like Shield Wall was really cool, but I mean, everything around it was kind of meh. But Shield Wall is also meh if you don't really know how to use it properly. But when you start being able to section things off, and they had a support node that allows you to have more than one shield wall, but with the new patch notes, you can now have multiple shield walls up to 2 just solo. It doesn't require a gem in order to use it. So that's really cool. It still doesn't do a ton of damage, which I would like it to, but that's not really why I use it. I just use it so I can section off bosses so they don't bum rush me. And that's really good. Granted, I have really high defenses and I have a blocking, or 71 or 72% block chance currently. But at the same time, you still don't want to get bum rushed by some of these bosses, man. They can do so much damage. And if it's chaos, it's a wrap. You know what I mean? So I would rather, you know, section them off and fight them from a little bit further away so that I don't take too much of their main attacks. So I like that play style. And because of that, it made me like the game until the point where I started to love the game. So I think my character being something that I hated in the pre-patch to now something that I actually love and enjoy playing post-patch has given me a different perspective of how I treat Path of Exile 2. I think the game so far as alpha and where it is now, I think it's like a solid like 9 out of 10. Like the game is freaking awesome. I think that it was a 9 out of 10 even when I was upset and mad about everything that happened with Warrior Titan. The only reason why, because it wasn't because You know, like I'm mad because of this happening, but I knew it was a bug. I was just angry. You know what I mean? But I would have given it the exact same score even back then, because I knew that would eventually get fixed. I was just kind of frustrated with it because I just thought, why would you make a character like this? You know, why don't you just make a Slayer? You know what I mean? Because I would have just played Slayer and ran Cyclone and I would have been good. You know what I mean? You forced me into this character because he was the closest one to Cyclone. So the way I was looking at it was like, I mean, this is what you gave me, you know what I mean? And this character is freaking awful. And so, you know, and then he got super good because he was one-shotting bosses that I've never done before in my entire life. So I was like, okay, you know, every boss I had was a battle. Every boss that I fought from the next past 30 years has always been a struggle. So for me to be able to like just one tap him, it was nice. You know what I mean? So I think that whole thing is what made me give it a high score, even though there were some pain points. But now those pain points are pretty much over for the most part. There are some issues here and there, but I know they're going to eventually work it out before the actual release version comes out. So overall, it deserves this 9 out of 10. So yeah, that's my thoughts on Path of Exile 2. I'll continue playing it. And if people like this video, then hey, I'll make more videos, but we'll see how it goes. And that's going to do it for today's episode. Thank you guys so much for watching. And if you like this video, go on the like button. If you really like it, go and subscribe. I love you either way. Take care. All the best and bye. I will see you next time. Peace. Oh, also I stream on Twitch, The Open Forum. Y'all have a good one. Peace.